Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie, and welcome to another episode of I Bet You've Never Heard These 80s Albums Before. This is a show where I pick 5 random obscure albums, I talk about them, and I play a little bit of music, and I hopefully will get you into these bands, or at least allow you to listen to something you missed somewhere along the way. Just let me say, I was listening to these albums back in the day, and they bring back so many great memories for me. But I have to stop getting sentimental and get this show started. I bet you've never heard this 80s album before. First album I'm going to talk about is by an artist that a lot of you already know. He's appeared on Hall & Oates albums. He also led the Saturday Night Live band for at least a decade into the 90s. And at one point in his career, he was known as Mr. Gilda Radner. I'm talking about the incredible talents of G.E. Smith and his album In the World from 1981. I got into G.E. Smith because he opened for Squeeze during their East Side Story tour. Now, I don't know if he opened all the dates, but at the show that my brother and I went to, he was the opening artist. And guess who was sitting in the front row behind the pit where my brother and I were standing? Gilda Radner and Lorraine Newman. But G.E. Smith, he's always been a great guitar player, but on the In the World album, he was also a great songwriter and pop artist. Now, I'm not saying he was totally power pop, but a lot of the songs on the album could be considered power pop. The album was produced by Bob Clearmountain, and it featured Mickey Curry on drums, who was also a member of the Hall & Oates band, and Paul Simon provided backing vocals. This is a great pop album, but he also showcases his guitar playing skills. If you're looking for some great 80s guitar pop, look no further than G.E. Smith, In the World from 1981.
You're much too cold. Everybody's heart's been frozen up. Heart frozen up. Heart frozen up. You get too high. One day your heart's just frozen up. Heart frozen up. Heart frozen up. All the nuns with guns made me a different boy. The crosses in their pockets, just like dirty Harry's footed for the beads upon their rosaries were bullets for the holy war. All the nuns never ever touched me with a real love, real love. Never ever touched me, oh no. You could never ever trust me with a real love, real love. Never ever trust me, oh no. With a real love, never ever trust me with a real love, real love. Never ever trust me, oh no. With a real love, never ever trust me with a real love, real love.
I bet you've never heard this 80s album before. Now let's stay in 1981, but head over to Philadelphia and meet the A's. Now they had put out a self-titled album, I believe in 79 or 80. This album came out in 1981 and it's called A Woman's Got the Power. The title track itself should have been huge. I mean, it's an amazing song. Christina Aguilera actually recorded a version of the song, 20 years later? Her version, of course, sounded entirely different than the A's, but they were a great band. They put out 2 albums on Arista Records. As I said, A Woman's Got the Power is the second album. Then I believe they may have had an EP out after that, and there was a couple live things that came out through fan club sources. A couple of the songs on A Woman's Got the Power, including the title track, were produced by Nick Garvey from The Motors, and he also produced the second Dirty Looks album, and he produced the first and third Bram Tchaikovsky album. So let's give a listen to the A's, A Woman's Got the Power from 1981.
When a man's got a fight to keep on dreaming, and the whole world seems like it's plotting and scheming, laying odds that he's gonna lose. He's gonna need the strength that comes from you. A woman's got the strength, a woman's got the power. Keep a man up, never let him down. Land of truth and
I bet you've never heard this 80s album before. Now let's go back one year to 1980, but head over to England and meet the Distractions. They put out a great album called Nobody's Perfect on Island Records. They had already put out a couple singles independently, including one on Factory Records. And they were post-punk, pop, just real great hook-filled songs. Now they were formed in, I think, about 1975 by vocalist Mike Finney and guitar player Steve Perrin. And they did reunite a few times into the 2000s, and all their stuff has been released on CD. Initially, as I said, Nobody's Perfect came out in 1980, but there's a label called Occultation Records. I could pronounce it every day except today. And they actually put out a 2 CD version of Nobody's Perfect. It contains their early singles and EPs, and also contains the album and some unreleased stuff. And then it contains a remix, a then modern remix, which a few years ago, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, of the actual album Nobody's Perfect. So on the 2 CD set, you get the remix and the original, plus a whole bunch of bonus tracks on it. It's really, really worth your while. You can get that through the Occultation Records Bandcamp site, and I'll put a link to that in the description box. And they've got tons of great stuff, so definitely check them out. But right now we are going to listen to The Distractions, Nobody's Perfect, from 1980.
Something for the weekend is not the pain. Something for the weekend, ease a strain. Something for the weekend, numb my brain. Something that'll make it real again. I'm stuck in a fantasy, a happy dream of how things used to be. I'm stuck in a fantasy, oh, here with me, oh, here with me. Boys cry when no one can see them, no one can see them cry. See them cry. Boys cry when their hearts are broken, their hearts are broken. Thought of what she said, hoped she was lying. Was it just a thoughtless wild attack? Maybe it's just something that I'm lacking. But I'm waiting for the rain, waiting for the rain. Waiting for the rain to phone me back. So if you see me hanging out in places that we always used to go, maybe it's just because I'm working. I used to know.
I bet you've never heard this 80s album before. Let's fast forward to 1984, and we're going to head to New Zealand and meet a band called Coconut Rough. I have been just a huge fan of this record, and I've talked about it for 42 years to anybody that will listen to me, and I'd love to be able to talk to you about it right now. This is a great band featuring Andrew McLennan, who'd been in the Pop Mechanics in New Zealand. He was also in the Swingers with Phil Judd from Split Enz, and Mark Bell, who had been in a band called Blam 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 from New Zealand, and Bones Hillman was in the band as well. Bones Hillman had been in the Swingers, and also he ended up in Midnight Oil, and unfortunately passed away a short time ago. First off, the album cover was painted by Phil Judd, formerly of Split Enz and the Swingers, and the sound of the album is very much like the Time and Tide, Conflicting Emotions, Split Enz vibe. It's just filled with hook after hook. Andrew McLennan, he had a great voice in Pop Mechanics. His voice got better in Coconut Rough. And his voice is incredible now if you've heard some of his solo stuff or his recordings with Another Life. He does record now with Eddie Rayner from Split Enz. And of course, Eddie Rayner is the architect of the Split Enz sound. So him working with Andrew McLennan is manna from heaven. So let's stop me jibber-jabbering and give a listen to Coconut Rough, the self-titled album from 1984.
Well, that's as good as it gets. Gets no better, as good as it gets. Don't you forget, as good as it can be, good as it should be, good enough for me.
I bet you've never heard this 80s album before. And finally, this one might seem a little out of left field because this band is more associated with the 70s, but 10cc put out an album called 10 out of 10. It originally came out in the UK in 81 and in the US in 82, and it is just a pop feast. Now, of course, this is the Eric Stewart Graham Gouldman version of 10cc, and this, I think, is their best album since Deceptive Bends from 77. And that's the album with The Things We Do for Love, etc. They sort of trimmed down their sound. They trimmed down the band because it had grown to like 5 or 6 members. But they basically went back to basics and recorded this album. It's filled with great, creative, hook-filled pop songs. There's reggae rhythms, there's pop rhythms, there's rock rhythms, and both Eric and Graham are singing beautifully on the album. The songs are fantastic. The album came out in 1981 in Europe, in England, and etc. But when it came time to come out in the US, the label said, we need something snappier. Why don't you work with this artist and see if you can come up with a couple new songs? Well, that artist was Andrew Gold, the singer-songwriter, and he helped them in the studio. They co-wrote 2-3 songs together, including the beautiful ballad Runaway, which kind of has those I'm Not in Love soaring backing vocals. Now, unfortunately, the album didn't do that well, but still, it's just a pop feast. If you love pop music, 10cc is a great band to really get into. They do take a lot of creative chances on this album. If you stopped listening to 10cc in 1977, then you need to do yourself a favor and give a listen to 10 out of 10 by 10cc, released in 1981 and 1982.
You ask me what's it like now, I've got no woman, no love. You ask me how's it feel to be alone, you got no one, don't lie. Don't tell me away. Open up your eyes now. Making up will only take a minute. You'll never make it in a Motown suit. No way to fake it, man, they're not your roots. Listen, I know what she's like, she's just a dreamer. But I'll win in the end, I'm the schemer. Give her time, she'll be on the phone. Run away, we could be alone together. Far away, leave the world behind. Run away, I need you. What I want to say is, you're a part of me. Let me be a part of you.
Well, that's it. I hope you found a gem that you might like or something you want to investigate a little more. I really appreciate all of your support for this series. I loved when all this music was coming out some 40 plus years ago, and I really appreciate the opportunity to revisit this music again. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me. I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.